Oscar Piastri gets the same repercussions after the crash. McLaren is in trouble with Red Bull's upgrades coming. Let's get into the latest F1 news. The Formula One Championship battle just took a dramatic turn, and if you're a McLaren fan, you might want to sit down for this one. Max Verstappen has just pulled off what many thought was impossible, closing a massive championship gap in record time. And now everyone in the paddock is talking about whether we're about to witness one of the greatest comebacks in motorsport history. Picture this. Just 4 race weekends ago, Oscar Piastri was sitting pretty at the top of the championship standings, with a commanding 104-point lead over Max Verstappen. That's the kind of gap that should be insurmountable, with just a handful of races remaining. But here we are today, and that seemingly impossible mountain has been reduced to just 40 points. To put that into perspective, Verstappen has clawed back 64 points in 4 weekends. That's not just impressive, that's borderline supernatural. The man who knows Verstappen better than most is Jonathan Wheatley, the former Red Bull sporting director who worked closely with Max before moving to Sauber. His recent comments have sent shockwaves through the Formula One community and should have McLaren executives losing sleep. Wheatley didn't mince words when he declared that Verstappen is simply the best driver in the world and warned McLaren that they should be constantly checking their rear-view mirrors. What makes this situation even more intriguing is that Red Bull themselves might be feeling a mixture of elation and frustration. According to Wheatley, the team is probably kicking themselves that they didn't find this breakthrough performance earlier in the season. Think about what could have happened if Red Bull had unlocked this pace from the beginning of the championship. We might not even be having this conversation about a tight title fight. The timing of Red Bull's resurgence couldn't be more dramatic. With 5 rounds and 2 sprint races still remaining in the 2025 season, there's plenty of opportunity for the championship pendulum to swing completely. What's particularly ominous for McLaren is that Red Bull's senior advisor Helmut Marko has hinted that the team might still have additional upgrades waiting in the wings. If that's true, then the performance gap that McLaren enjoyed could evaporate entirely. Wheatley's experience working with Red Bull gives his warnings extra weight. He recalls how frequently the team would make overnight transformations between Friday practice and Saturday qualifying, finding significant performance improvements that would completely change the competitive order. This isn't just about having a fast car. It's about having a team that never stops pushing, never stops innovating, and never accepts defeat. The psychological aspect of this championship battle cannot be understated. McLaren entered the final phase of the season believing they had control of both the drivers' and constructors' championships. Now they're facing the reality that the 4-time world champion they thought they'd left behind is breathing down their necks with the kind of form that made him virtually unbeatable during his previous title-winning campaigns. What's particularly fascinating about this situation is how it challenges conventional wisdom about championship mathematics. While McLaren team principal Andrea Stella has stated that only mathematics would force the team to prioritize one driver over another, the rapid closing of the championship gap suggests that mathematical certainty might be more fragile than initially thought. Verstappen's charge isn't just about raw pace. It's about racecraft, strategic thinking, and the kind of championship-winning mentality that separates good drivers from great ones. His recent dominant performances have reminded everyone why he's accumulated 4 world championships and why writing him off is always premature. The upcoming Mexico City Grand Prix adds another layer of intrigue to this unfolding drama. Holds the all-time victory record at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez with 5 wins, making him the driver to beat on a circuit where he's historically excelled. If he can extend his recent winning streak there, the championship mathematics become even more favorable. For McLaren, this situation represents both a test of their championship credentials and a masterclass in how quickly fortunes can change in Formula One. They've gone from having what appeared to be an unassailable lead to facing genuine pressure from a driver and team that specialize in performing under pressure. The broader implications extend beyond just this championship battle. We're potentially witnessing a defining moment in Verstappen's career where he could add another chapter to his legacy by overcoming seemingly impossible odds. If he manages to turn this 40-point deficit into a 5th consecutive championship, it would cement his status among the greatest drivers in Formula One history. As we head into the final stretch of the 2025 season, one thing is clear. The championship fight is far from over. With Verstappen's recent form and Red Bull's apparent breakthrough in car performance, McLaren's comfortable position has transformed into a high-pressure situation where every point matters and every race could be decisive. The question isn't whether Verstappen can continue this incredible run of form, but whether McLaren can respond to the pressure and hold on to what once seemed like a certain championship victory. Based on recent evidence, this title fight is about to get very interesting indeed. Formula One fans, buckle up, because the McLaren drama just took another massive twist. If you thought the championship battle couldn't get any more intense, Oscar Piastri just dropped some bombshell revelations that change everything we know about what's happening behind closed doors at McLaren. You've probably been following the chaos between teammates Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris this season. Well, it turns out there's been way more going on than meets the eye. And what Piastri just revealed will blow your mind. We're talking about secret team punishments, internal politics, and a championship fight that's about to explode. Here's what nobody was talking about until now. After that messy collision between Piastri and Norris in Singapore, McLaren apparently implemented some serious consequences for Norris behind the scenes. Sources suggest the team was giving Norris inferior qualifying setups as punishment for that contact with his teammate. Think about that for a second. Your own team sabotaging your chances because of an on-track incident. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. Remember that sprint race disaster in Austin where both McLaren drivers crashed out on the very first lap? That incident has completely reset the entire dynamic between these two championship contenders. Piastri himself has now confirmed that any lingering penalties against Norris have been wiped clean. Speaking from Mexico, Piastri admitted there was responsibility on his side for that Austin sprint crash. His exact words were game-changing. He revealed that McLaren has decided to start with a completely clean slate for both drivers moving forward. The consequences that were hanging over Norris have been officially removed. What makes this situation even more dramatic is the timing. Max Verstappen has been steadily closing the gap in the championship standings, now sitting just 40 points behind the McLaren duo. While McLaren has been playing internal politics and managing driver conflicts, their main rival has been capitalizing on every opportunity. This whole mess highlights a massive problem with McLaren's approach to team management. Their dedication to keeping both drivers on equal footing has created some seriously awkward situations in recent races. Meanwhile, Verstappen has been laughing all the way to potential championship glory as his competitors tear each other apart from within. The pressure is absolutely crushing both McLaren drivers right now. When asked about being in championship contention, Piastri revealed his true feelings about the situation. He admitted that while both positions have their advantages and disadvantages, he would definitely prefer having the championship lead rather than chasing from behind. But here's what's really telling about Piastri's mindset. He believes that being at the front usually means you're doing something right, and throughout this season, McLaren has done many things correctly, though he acknowledges there's still room for improvement. What's fascinating is how Piastri is handling the Verstappen threat. Rather than getting caught up in the mind games and championship mathematics, he's maintaining laser focus on his own performance. His strategy is simple but effective. Go as fast as possible and extract maximum performance from every single weekend. This approach makes complete sense when you think about it. Piastri recognizes that some weekends they've nailed everything perfectly, while others have been complete disasters. By concentrating on controlling what he can control, he's avoiding the mental trap of constantly looking over his shoulder at Verstappen's charge. The psychological warfare happening within this championship battle is incredible. You've got McLaren trying to balance two equally talented drivers who both want to win, while Verstappen applies external pressure by consistently delivering strong results. It's like watching a chess match played at 300 kilometers per hour. What really stands out is how this internal McLaren drama could completely derail their championship chances. History is littered with teams that lost championships because they couldn't manage their driver relationships effectively. McLaren is walking a tightrope right now, trying to keep both drivers motivated while not favoring either one too obviously. The clean slate announcement might sound like good news for team harmony, but it also raises serious questions about McLaren's decision-making process. If they were punishing Norris for the Singapore incident, why reverse that decision after Austin? It suggests either inconsistent leadership or reactive management rather than proactive strategy. Meanwhile, Verstappen continues his relentless pursuit, probably enjoying every minute of McLaren's internal struggles. He's in the perfect position to capitalize on any mistakes or team dysfunction. Every point McLaren loses to internal conflict is a point gained in Verstappen's championship bid. Looking ahead, this championship fight is far from over. With McLaren drivers now supposedly on equal terms and Verstappen breathing down their necks, every remaining race becomes absolutely critical. One mistake, one team order controversy, or one strategic blunder could swing the entire championship. The real question now is whether McLaren has learned from these experiences or if more drama awaits. Can they truly maintain this clean slate approach under championship pressure, or will old tensions resurface when the stakes get even higher? This story perfectly captures why Formula One is so much more than just racing. It's politics, psychology, and pure human drama played out at the highest level of motorsport. Stay tuned because this championship battle is about to get even more intense. Is Oscar Piastri's Formula One championship dream about to turn into a nightmare? Because right now, McLaren is frantically tearing apart his car piece by piece, searching for answers after what might be the most concerning performance of his career. Just 2 weeks ago, Oscar Piastri was sitting pretty with a commanding 22-point lead in the 2025 Formula One Championship standings. Today, that cushion has been slashed to just 14 points, and Max Verstappen is breathing down his neck, trailing by only 40 points with 5 races left on the calendar. What happened in Austin last weekend wasn't just a bad race. It was a red flag that has McLaren's entire team scrambling. Here's where things get really interesting. Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, just dropped a bombshell that should make every Formula One fan sit up and take notice. They're conducting a full-scale investigation of Piastri's car because something was seriously wrong during the United States Grand Prix weekend. We're talking about a complete teardown of his MCL39, checking every component, every setup parameter, every floor configuration to figure out why their championship leader suddenly looked like he was driving with the handbrake on. The numbers tell a scary story. Throughout the entire Austin weekend, Piastri was consistently trailing his teammate Lando Norris by around 0.3 of a second. In Formula One terms, that's not a small gap, that's a chasm. When you're fighting for a world championship, 0.3 might as well be 3 seconds. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just one qualifying session or one practice run. This pace deficit was consistent across every single session. Let's talk about what actually went down in Texas. The weekend started disastrously when Piastri and Norris made contact for the second consecutive race weekend during the sprint race opening lap. Both McLaren drivers retired on the spot, handing valuable points to their rivals on a silver platter. Then came Sunday's main race, where Piastri could only manage a distant 5th place while watching Verstappen claim his 3rd victory in just 4 races. Now, here's where Stella's investigation becomes absolutely crucial. The McLaren boss admitted that Piastri seemed to have a couple of tenths of pace that he simply couldn't access, and that performance was theoretically available in the car. Think about that for a moment. If there's a mechanical issue that's been robbing Piastri of crucial pace, how many points has it already cost him? How long has this problem been lurking in the shadows? But McLaren isn't just looking at the car. They're also examining Piastri's driving, and this is where things get really fascinating from a psychological perspective. Stella revealed that when track conditions become challenging with low grip, drivers need to push their cars to the absolute limit, embracing understeer, oversteer, and wheel locking. According to the team principal, this is an area where Piastri has room for improvement. Circuit of the Americas presented unique challenges that exposed this potential weakness. The track's characteristics, particularly the S's section and the long-turn 15-16-17-18 complex, create conditions where tires regularly overheat due to the stresses involved. This demands a counterintuitive approach from drivers. Brazen, they need to attack the lap normally and then manage the inevitable wayward moments when grip disappears. The suggestion is that Piastri drove too conservatively, trying to prevent tire overheating when the reality is that overheating was inevitable regardless of driving style. While other drivers were wrestling their cars through these challenging conditions and extracting maximum performance, Piastri appeared to be holding back, essentially leaving speed on the table when he could least afford to do so. This investigation comes at the worst possible time for McLaren's championship ambitions. With Verstappen finding his rhythm again, and Red Bull showing renewed competitive pace, every point matters. The championship battle that seemed to be trending toward Piastri just a few weeks ago now looks genuinely uncertain. What makes this situation even more intriguing is the timing. Piastri described his Austin performance as the odd one out, compared to recent disappointing showings in Azerbaijan and Singapore. But was Austin really an anomaly, or was it simply the most obvious manifestation of an underlying problem that's been developing over several races? McLaren's response suggests they're taking this investigation extremely seriously. They're not just doing a surface-level check, they're conducting what Stella described as a thorough examination of every aspect of the car's setup. This includes the floor setup, which is crucial for aerodynamic performance in modern Formula One, and every other component that could potentially impact pace. The psychological pressure on Piastri must be immense right now. Leading a championship is challenging enough without questions arising about both your equipment and your driving technique. With 5 races remaining and Verstappen showing the kind of form that made him a multiple world champion, there's no margin for error. The Mexican Grand Prix this weekend will be absolutely critical. If McLaren's investigation reveals and fixes a genuine car problem, we could see Piastri return to his earlier season form. But if the issues persist, this championship fight could swing dramatically in Verstappen's favor. The next few days might determine whether we're witnessing the beginning of one of Formula One's greatest comeback stories, or watching a championship slip away from a driver who seemed destined for glory. The 2025 Formula One Championship has taken a dramatic turn that nobody saw coming. Max Verstappen, who seemed completely out of the title fight just months ago, has suddenly transformed into an unstoppable force. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri, who once commanded a massive 104-point lead, now finds himself clinging to just a 40-point advantage, with only 5 races remaining. This isn't just a comeback story. It's a complete psychological warfare masterclass unfolding before our eyes. To understand how seismic this shift has been, we need to rewind to the Dutch Grand Prix. Piastri stood atop the podium, celebrating what appeared to be a commanding championship lead. The Australian looked untouchable. His McLaren was flying, and Verstappen seemed resigned to his fate. Fast forward to today, and everything has flipped upside down. Verstappen has been absolutely ruthless in his pursuit. Since that Dutch Grand Prix, he's collected an astonishing 101 points out of a possible 108. Think about that for a moment. That's near perfection when the championship was supposedly already decided. He claimed victories at Monza and Baku, secured second place in Singapore, and then delivered a masterclass in Austin by winning both the sprint and the main race from pole position. But here's where the story gets really interesting and concerning for McLaren fans. While Verstappen has been on this incredible charge, Piastri has completely lost his way. The same driver who looked so composed and confident earlier in the season has managed just 37 points in that same period. He finished 3rd at Monza, crashed out dramatically on the opening lap in Baku, struggled to 4th in Singapore, and could only manage 5th in Austin after another sprint race incident. The numbers tell a brutal story. Piastri has watched his championship lead evaporate from 104 points to just 40 inches 4 weekends. That's not just losing ground, that's a complete collapse of momentum at the worst possible time. Former Formula One driver Timo Glock hasn't minced his words about what he's witnessing. According to the German, Piastri is showing clear signs of insecurity under the mounting pressure. Remember, this is only Piastri's 3rd season in Formula One, and he's never been in a championship fight of this magnitude before. The weight of expectation, the media scrutiny, and the knowledge that history could be made or lost is clearly affecting his performance. Glock's assessment goes beyond just Piastri, though. He believes the entire McLaren team is feeling the heat. The nervousness that once seemed impossible given their dominant position earlier in the season is now palpable. When you're used to being the hunters, becoming the hunted requires a completely different mindset. What makes this situation even more precarious for McLaren is the unpredictability of the remaining races. Mercedes has shown flashes of genuine pace, Ferrari proved their strength in Austin, and other teams are capable of taking crucial points away from the championship contenders. This isn't a two-horse race anymore. It's a chaotic battle where every point could prove decisive. The psychological aspect cannot be understated. Verstappen has been here before, multiple times. He knows exactly how to handle championship pressure, how to extract maximum performance when everything is on the line, and most importantly, how to capitalize on his opponent's mistakes. For Piastri, this is uncharted territory. Despite the mounting pressure, Piastri is trying to project confidence. He recently stated that he'd still rather be in his position than Verstappen's, emphasizing that 40 points is still a significant gap with 5 rounds remaining. He's banking on McLaren finding their pace again and returning to the form that built their championship lead in the first place. But here's the reality check. Verstappen doesn't need to find his pace. He's already found it and he's showing no signs of slowing down. The 3-time world champion has transformed what seemed like an impossible situation into a genuine title fight. Even more ominously for his rivals, Verstappen himself is starting to believe that a 5th consecutive championship is within reach. The momentum shift is undeniable. Where Verstappen once wrote off his chances after a difficult start to the season, he's now openly discussing what needs to happen to complete this remarkable comeback. He knows that maintaining this level of performance until the end of the season could deliver one of the greatest championship comebacks in Formula One history. For McLaren, the next 5 races represent the ultimate test of their championship credentials. Can they rediscover the form that made them look unbeatable earlier in the season? Can Piastri handle the pressure of defending a lead against one of the sport's greatest champions? Can the team provide the support structure needed to see their driver across the finish line? The stakes couldn't be higher. We're witnessing either the completion of one of Formula One's greatest comebacks or the moment a young driver proves he has what it takes to deny a legend his 5th title. Every qualifying session, every race start, every strategic decision will be magnified under the championship spotlight. This isn't just about points anymore. It's about who wants it more, who can handle the pressure better, and who can deliver when everything is on the line. Buckle up, because the final 5 races of this championship are going to be absolutely unmissable. What if I told you Ferrari is developing something so groundbreaking for 2026 that they're keeping it locked away under complete secrecy? Something that could completely flip Formula One on its head when the biggest rule changes in decades hit the sport. Well, buckle up, because the latest intelligence coming out of Maranello is absolutely mind-blowing. The prancing horse is reportedly working on what insiders are calling a revolutionary engine component that could be their secret weapon for the new era. But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't just any ordinary development. We're talking about a completely reimagined approach to engine design that has Ferrari engineers burning the midnight oil behind closed doors. Now, before we dive into the juicy details, let me paint you the picture of what's at stake here. The 2026 season isn't just another year in Formula One, it's a complete transformation. We're looking at 50% electrification, fully sustainable fuels, and active aerodynamics. This is the most significant technical overhaul the sport has seen, and whoever gets it right could dominate for years to come. Remember what happened in 2014 when the last major engine regulations changed? Mercedes absolutely crushed everyone, winning 8 straight Constructors' Championships and 7 Drivers' titles. They came prepared, while others scrambled. The question now is, could Ferrari be positioning themselves to flip that script? Here's what we know so far. According to exclusive reports from Italian motorsport sources, Ferrari is developing an aluminum alloy cylinder head featuring what they describe as a top-secret intake system. But here's the plot twist. This wasn't their original plan. They initially pursued what was described as a highly innovative steel cylinder head solution, but reliability concerns forced them to abandon that approach entirely. The man behind the original concept was Wolf Zimmermann, Ferrari's outgoing head of internal combustion engines and research development. His steel design was apparently so cutting-edge that it raised serious questions about whether it could actually survive the brutal demands of Formula One racing. When reliability became a major concern, Ferrari made the tough decision to scrap months of development work. But this setback might actually tell us something fascinating about Ferrari's ambition level. They're not playing it safe. They're pushing boundaries so aggressively that even their backup plan is being called revolutionary. That aluminum alloy cylinder head with its mysterious intake system represents their pivot to something more reliable, yet still groundbreaking. The timing of this development drama adds another layer of intrigue. Zimmermann is expected to leave Ferrari once his work on the 2026 engine is complete, with Audi likely becoming his next destination. His deputy, Lars Schmidt, is also reportedly following him to the German manufacturer. This means Ferrari is losing significant technical expertise right when they need it most. Taking over Ferrari's engine department will be Enrico Gualtieri, currently serving as Power Unit Technical Director. The question becomes whether this leadership transition will help or hinder Ferrari's progress as they race against the clock to finalize their 2026 package. Speaking of racing against time, here's where things get concerning for Ferrari fans. The switch from steel to aluminum cylinder head designs has reportedly left Ferrari playing catch-up compared to their rivals. Mercedes is widely believed to be the most advanced in their 2026 preparations, while Honda is also making strong progress. This creates a fascinating dynamic because Mercedes dominated the last major rule change, and early intelligence suggests they might be best positioned to do it again. But Ferrari's secretive approach and willingness to take technical risks could be exactly what's needed to close that gap. The broader engine manufacturer landscape for 2026 adds even more intrigue. We'll have 5 different power unit suppliers: Ferrari, Mercedes, Honda returning officially with Aston Martin, plus newcomers Audi and Red Bull powertrains partnered with Ford. That's the most diverse engine supply grid Formula One has seen in years. Recent reports suggest that most manufacturers, except Mercedes, have encountered serious development challenges. 2 are apparently far behind the leaders, while another is struggling with an uncompetitive design after choosing a different biofuel approach compared to rivals who selected synthetic fuel. This puts Ferrari's secretive aluminum alloy development into perspective. They might be playing catch-up overall, but their willingness to completely restart their cylinder head design suggests they're not settling for mediocrity. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from being forced back to the drawing board. For Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, this engine development could be crucial. Hamilton has struggled in his first Ferrari season, failing to reach the podium in his opening 19 races with the team. Both drivers need Ferrari to nail the 2026 regulations if they want to fight for championships again. The stakes couldn't be higher. Ferrari's mysterious intake system and aluminum alloy cylinder head represent their shot at redemption after years of championship disappointment. Whether this top-secret technology will deliver the performance they need remains the biggest question mark heading into Formula One's new era. Only time will tell if Ferrari's revolutionary approach pays off when those 2026 cars hit the track.